don't worry about what you look like. I haven't always had vitiligo. And my skin started losing pigment, I started to panic a little bit because I thought, man, this might affect my acting career. But then I thought, I talked to another actor. He's like, man, put some makeup on that and go about your business.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this bonus lesson that I have for you today. And today I have a special guest who's also a longtime friend who's going to help us talk about camera confidence, specifically on camera confidence, because I know a lot of you, as soon as you see a camera in your face, get nervous, lock up, and don't feel like you know what to say or what to do. So I thought for this lesson, I'd bring someone on who I've known for a very long time. We've actually known each other since we were teenagers. He is professionally trained in theater, in film, in television, has the credits to back that up. And he would be a good person to come on with us today to talk about how to develop your on-camera confidence. I want you to be able to take some tips away from this lesson and be able to apply these things to when you're recording, whether it be video or audio. But anytime you're making any content for your podcast, it's important that you come across feeling confident in what you're saying. You want to be comfortable and you want to make sure that you're engaging. I'm going to bring our guest presenter, Chike Johnson, up to the stage with me, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this topic today. Chike, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. So welcome to the podcast school. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. So I think this is a very important topic because all of the social media platforms want video content. Everyone's looking at how do I create video content in a way that's going to be easy and manageable. And my suggestion is for them is to create video podcast content to talk about what they do in their business, things that their clients want to know about, and develop a video. It's just kind of the best way to go. So can you just kind of, as an actor, I don't know what y'all go through or what they tell you, but like, what was your how were you before you started doing film? And then, like, what did you pick up overall, just in a general sense, to adapt to that medium of sharing information and presenting yourself?
Okay. First, I want to say thanks for having me on, Mike. I appreciate you calling me and allowing me to be a part of this great company that you've created. Yeah, it's crazy that we've known each other so long.
So long.
It's too long. This is wonderful. Excuse me. It's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure to be here. I hope that I can help a few people out there. So when I first started acting, I used to have I used to have panic attacks before I would either go on stage or be in front of a camera. And over the course of my training and talking, having really good professors and really good older actors and directors talking to me and guiding me, I grew past it. And I don't have any fear of being on camera anymore. I don't have any fear of being on stage anymore. I think there's a certain amount of, I'll call it energy. And that energy can be used either positively or negatively. So I choose to lean towards the positive than more than the negative. I will also say that a little bit of nervousness just reminds you that you're alive, and that's okay. And that means that if you're nervous or you have that the little bit of that feeling, it means that you want things to go well. So uh, you have a stake in what's going on, and that's okay. What's not okay is letting it overwhelm you and make you freeze up.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the nervousness because even though I've been doing this for some years, I still get like butterflies and kind of jittery before the camera goes on.
Absolutely.
And once I'm on, and it's just like, oh, we doing it. Like the lights are on, the curtains are open. It's always amazing to me when I look back how natural everything kind of flows, and I just kind of fall into the mode at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're prepared and you really have a message or something that you really want to help people with, you will find a way to get that message across. I think one of the reasons that I used to get super nervous was because I made it about myself. It was
Mm,
about Chike. It wasn't about the play. It wasn't about the character I was playing. It was about Chike. A good director told me, he said, you need to stop thinking about yourself. This is
mm,
bigger than you. We are putting on a play, and you've created a character that you've worked on. So just
right.
be. And once I took that pressure off myself to be perfect, and I went out there and I thought more about what do I want? What do I need as the character? I have too many other things to get done to be worried about being nervous.
Mm.
There's a like I said, there's always a little bit of nervousness, but like you just got done saying, once I step on that stage, it's not about Chike, it's about the flow, this story.
Right.
Me listening to the other actors that are on stage, me trying to accomplish what I need to accomplish for that character on stage. That's what it becomes about. It has nothing to do with Chike. So that's also what helped me overcome that nervousness.
I like that. I like that. So when Chike was telling that story about, the character and removing it from being about him, it made me think about, okay, like as a business owner, as a coach or a consultant, I am making this content because I want to share something that's going to help the client or the customer. So you have to think about that. Like it's really not about you. You have the knowledge, you have the life experience, you have the expertise. You're the message deliverer. So
Right.
your whole purpose for creating this content in the first place is to release and put something out there so that people who need it can find it. So remember that when you're feeling like that and you're wondering like, oh, like how am I looking? And is this the best lighting? Like I think a lot of times people get so caught up in all that technical stuff. But
Absolutely.
when you put yourself in the seat of a person with a problem looking for a solution, I don't care. Give me
Right.
the information that I want.
Right. I'm here to give you answers
Yeah,
to your problem. I'm here to solve your problem. So solve it. You can't solve a problem by thinking about yourself.
that's a good
And
point.
Shaq, I remember listening to Shaq. He was being interviewed. Shaquille O'Neal was being interviewed, and he was talking about his shoes. And you can buy his shoes at Walmart. And he said he was this lady approached him and was giving him all kind of headache about how expensive his shoes were. And he went back home, or he talked to some more his business partners and decided to drop the prices of his shoes. And he was like, that I did that because I wanted to help. I wanted people who didn't have the money to buy the Nikes and the Air Jordans, or the really expensive tennis shoes out there. I wanted them to be able to have good quality shoes. And that's why you can go to Walmart and buy Shaquille O'Neal's shoes at a really good price, and they're good quality shoes. They might not be in, the new hotness or the thing that
Right.
kids want to wear, but they're able to buy, but they're there and they're able to buy good quality shoes at a lower price. And it was all about him. And I say all that to say it was all about him looking to help. Yes, he's making money, of course, but he's also it's about his product. How can my product be more accessible? How can my product be more accessible is the word that I'm looking for. But that's what he's looking for. So he was looking to help. And I feel like if you're really looking to help, if you're
Hmm.
really looking to solve a problem, it won't be about you as much.
That's right.
The you comes later. You do get, for me, in the acting terms, the work is the most important thing.
Mhm.
The fame, the money, and all that will come later. But you have to do good work. So for myself, I go, let's stop thinking about that. That's not necessary because that's an added pressure that I don't need on me. I don't care about being famous. I don't care about making a whole bunch of money, and I'm not. Um, for me, it's about the work. How can I do the best work possible?
Right.
And that's what I mean by taking the onus off you and putting it on the work.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that and just kind of sharing your story too about, how you felt before and then kind of like once you removed yourself from that, how you were able to get past that. So what I want to do is kind of just talk about a couple key areas that I know people have voiced some challenges with, and I'm gonna bring them up on the screen and then just kind of have you share maybe some tips about some things that they can do to help overcome challenges in those areas. Does that sound good
Okay.
for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let's start with just kind of like one of the general ones, and let's just talk in general about camera shyness. I get that a lot of times where people just say like, they know their stuff, they've been doing it, but when they know that they're recording and they get on camera, that's when they kind of, like you said, the nerves kick in and the voice trembling. Yeah, what tips or techniques might you be able to share to help people get comfortable on camera and overcome camera shyness?
That's an interesting question. And I tie that question back in, or my answer back into what we were just talking about. It's about breath. A lot of it is about breathing. Take a breath, understand why you're there. I usually I take my breath. I say, okay, I know my text. I know what I'm gonna say. I've had that memorized for a long time. So I know there's a lot of people on. How do I push them to the side and just focus um on doing my job? I go, okay, breath. Now what does my character want? And then I go after it. For those who are shy, take a breath because you're usually excuse me, you're usually at home by yourself. I'm not sure if you're recording live or not, but if you're not recording live, that's a pressure that you immediately don't have to deal with. So you can stop as many times as you want. Number two, get to the point, get to the reason you're there. If you're scared about the camera can't do it. The only thing the camera could do is turn off and turn on, and it's not judging you. It's a difficult thing to put yourself out there. I understand that. A lot of people don't. As many videos and as much content as out on YouTube, there are a lot more people who are scared to do that, and I understand that. But if you truly have a message, if you truly have an answer to a question, go after that question. That's what you should. And put it right. Write it up on the wall, or write it up on a piece of paper and put it up on the wall. So it's right behind the camera. So as soon as you start to get nervous, you can look up, okay, why am I here? You can write down, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What question am I trying to answer that is needed? And then go after that. And every time you look up, oh, that's what I should be doing right there. That's the question I'm answering. That's the help that I'm giving. If you forget, put it up right behind the camera. So it always is always there to remind you why you're doing what you're doing. Don't worry about what you look like. I haven't always had vitiligo. And when my skin started losing pigment, I started to panic a little bit because I thought, man, this might affect my acting career. But then I thought, I talked to another actor. He's like, man, put some makeup on it and go on about your business. I was thinking more about it. I was more scared about it than anybody else. I still run into people and they were like, yeah, I saw something was on your face, but it don't change who you are.
Right.
So what I'm saying is focus in on on the answers or the help that you're trying to give. Put it up, write it down, put it up on the wall behind the camera and stare at it before you do anything. And if you feel those jitters, take a breath. Breath is very, very good. It feeds your brain. When you're nervous, you tend to breathe shallower. It's an exercise that I do before I go on stage. If I feel any kind of anything, if I'm a little bit nervous, because I still get nervous, if I'm a little bit nervous before I go on stage, it's opening night. I hate opening nights because that's what really gets to me for some. It's more psychological than anything. But if I feel that nervous is coming, I go, breathe, just breathe. Okay, we're good. Remind yourself after the breath, remind yourself why you're there, and then begin.
That's good. Like everything that you said is exactly. I'm not usually pre-thinking about it, so this is kind of an advantage for them to go in knowing this. But typically, that's what it is. Like when I'm doing my lives and I see that clock counting down, all right, I know what I'm doing, and then I just go there. And I like that part that you said because this lesson is actually following a lesson that's all about planning and picking your topic and how to do your episodes and deliver your content and just focus on that one message that you have. So you saying that without us having that conversation is good validation to know that, like, just remember what you came there for, speak on that topic, get that information that they want, stop putting yourself as the reason why and making yourself the star. Deliver the information that people need, which is why they found you in the first place.
Absolutely. And practice. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes better.
That's a good one.
I stole that from somebody. And it was, for me, it was true. It's like practice doesn't make perfect. So stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
Practice makes you better. So practice. Before we go on stage, we usually have anywhere from a 2 to 3 week, 3.5 week rehearsal period. Okay. And when I go home after rehearsal, I work on it on my own, which helps because then I go back to rehearsal and I can come back to rehearsal with choices that I've made. I can come back and be a better partner in the process if I'm working on it on my own. So remember, practice is okay. Sit there with that, write it out, sit there with it, say it out loud, and just keep saying it out loud when you're cooking. Okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. You're cooking, boom, and you're practicing. You're working out. You should be practicing. You're doing whatever you have in your life, just running it. So then when you get to that point where you're ready to go, you'll be less nervous because you'll know your stuff.
Right.
And then that little bit of that residual nervousness that's still there, the breath will take care of that.
Yep.
The reminder on the wall will take care of that because you know your stuff.
Right.
If you're not prepared, it's going to show immediately. If I walk on stage I mean, I can fake it because I've been at it for a little bit, but I would never walk on stage unprepared ever. My biggest fear is walking on stage and not knowing my lines.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I forgot my lines on it. Just happened. It happens to every actor. You're in the middle of a scene and you're going, and you realize your mouth is talking, but your brain is two steps behind your mouth, and then you realize, oh snap, where am I? And you know what gets me back on course?
The breath.
There it is. Boom. And you keep moving.
Hmm.
I'm not breathing. I'm just talking. Words are just coming out of my mouth.
Right.
But there's no intent behind it. You gotta be you gotta be purposefully, I don't know if this will make sense, but you have to be purposefully intent on what you're saying at all times. And the only way you get there is by practicing and breathing.
That's a good point. Those are good tips. Very easy to do and applicable to what we're talking about. So I knew you was the right person to bring on for this topic. Because that's all good stuff. And one thing I want to say for people is like sometimes what you need to do, like I used to do this and I don't have to do it as much, but when I first started doing my like live shows, I would record myself saying it so that I can hear back and see how I'm coming across. And then, and this was during my practice time. So when I was practicing it, I would record afterwards once I get to a certain point, hear it back and be like, you know what, I think I'm gonna switch up the way that I say this, or maybe do this word this way. But I played around with it just because I was able to hear it first, and then it gave me just another chance, like you said, to just be like a better partner in the case with your actors. But for me, it gave me an opportunity to just deliver my message in a way that I felt was going to resonate better. But I wouldn't have
Right,
never discovered that if I didn't practice it and if I didn't record it.
right, right.
Yeah.
Jack, stop trying to be perfect. Document when you do this, remember that what you say is it's a living, breathing kind of thing. So you may and be open to that. So for example, I know my text and I go on stage and I've practiced it this one way. And let me make it more clear. I'm supposed to cry at a certain time during the scene. And 5 times out of 10, I can cry with no problem. The other 5 times, it doesn't come. Does that mean it's bad? It's no. That's how I'm feeling that day, and my body's reacting in a different way, and I got to be able to flow with it. Or I memorize a text this way because this person has been saying it to me this way for 5 or 6 shows, and then one day they come on stage and they decide, or they're not feeling it. Their body's doing something else. I have to be able to flow with them. So if we're having an argument and they're coming at me super aggressive, and today they decide that they're going to cry, I have to be open to that. As long as it's within the confines of what we've practiced, I'll still have to be able to move and flow with them. If I'm rigid, rigid trees snap. You got to be like, you got to be able to flow. You got to be able to move. And so, no matter how much you practice your stuff, remember that you also have to be able to just kind of move and flow with it. And things will hit you differently. Somebody may ask you a question, and you're like, oh, okay, I understand that. Let me hit it with this. So, besides the practicing, being open, don't practice to be rigid. Practice to be fluid, flowing, if you will.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's real relatable for people who are doing lives. Because, like, I'm doing live sometimes, and then I may get something comment that comes from the audience who's watching that I didn't prepare for or I didn't practice for. But because I always suggest people maintain like a conversational flow, then I'm able to adapt to that. It's not like, oh my God, somebody asked me something that's outside of what I did or what I prepared for. How should I respond to this? Remember that you're the expert at what you do. So allowing yourself to be flexible and to flow with the conversation is going to make it more engaging, I think, for the people who are watching, and then also help them connect to you a little
Absolutely.
bit more because it's natural and it's conversational.
Absolutely.